Hello everyone, welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. Today we'll discuss briefly about our Indian foreign policy. So let's begin with. So if you see, for each and every Indian, August 15, 1947. This is a remarkable date, right? So for each and every citizen of India, August 15, 1947 is a sacred date for Indians. But for other countries, all the nations around India, by that time, it's a question mark for them. It's a very suspicious date for them. Why? Because by that time, for every countries, they looked India as a broken economy, bruised people, and partition geography. For everyone, it's a question like, will this country survive? That's a big question in everyone's minds. So, but decades later, with our own economic reforms and the more reforms according to the social justice and more reforms in other aspects, now we prove to the world that we are survived now. That's what we will see in a brief now. So if you see this, so will it be able to survive is a big question. So with our economic policies and with other things like big plannings, we prove to the nations that we are survived. But though we changed our economic policies and everything, but only one thing remained constantly with the hitting always. That's our diplomatic relations. Even today, we are top notch in making diplomatic relations. So with decade and decade, we are growing. So if you see, this is the diplomatic relations we are maintaining, and as I said, economic policy, and with the time to time improvement in the social justice, we are at the top notch now. And if you see, by the time when we get the independence, 1947, that time it's an important era for all the world. Why? Because of Cold War. Cold War between a communist country and a capitalist country. So that is China versus USA. That Cold War has played a prominent role in the whole world. But every countries, if you see in the world, they are picking up the sides. But India, it doesn't pick up any side. It was always in the separate one. It was non-aligned to any of those countries. That's how we can see a birth of new movement, non-alignment. So this non-alignment, if you see, we can trace back its birth even before our independence. So March 12th, if you see, our then Jawaharlal Nehru took an important step in organizing a conference, nothing but Asian relations in New Delhi. With that conference, nearly most of the 28 nations of South Asia have participated, and the main goal of this conference is to unite whole continent. So, after Nehru became a president, he again played an important role in organizing one more conference in 1955, that is Bandung Conference in Indonesia. Here if you see, we can say 29 countries, even not only from Asia, even from Africa, 29 countries have together and come up and they have attended this conference in Indonesia. So these African and Asia countries together, they hold nearly 50% of the global population. So it's a huge, right? That time it's a big, right? So Nehru played an important role in that conference. So with that, non-alignment movement has become a popular thing. So next, coming to that NAM, non-alignment movement. So it's so popular and 29 countries are part of it now. So everything will have this positive and negative impacts, right? Similarly, NAM has also faced certain criticisms. Some critics said it's an isolationist. So NAM is an isolationist policy. And some others said it's a fence sitting. It's like keeping a fence around and sitting in between so that they can be in a protective couch. That's what critics say about the NAM that time. But with the NAM, we gave importance to purpose, we gave importance to policy, but we always kept pragmatism aside. We want always to be players in the field, not the pawns. That's what the main key goal in the back of the NAM. So, if you see, in that time, in 1950s, that decade, with the help of NAM, we also became a peacemakers. How? So if you see, that time, Korean War, we mediated with the Korean War, and we also advocated the communist China. And if you see, Egyptian crisis, a tripartite struggle in Egypt because of Russia. We also had nice response in the support of Egypt. So because of these all things, we now became a peacemakers in the world. With that, every country in and around the world started seeing as a voice of justice. So in 1958, we became peacemaker with voice of justice. And coming to the 60s, 1960s decade, as I said earlier, we have kept aside always pragmatism, and the purpose and the policy are very important for us, but this is the very crucial decade for us. We have faced wars with other neighbors, with the other neighbors around us. We have faced a threat. So in 1962 with China and 1965 with Pakistan. But with China, we lost with heavy losses. But with Pakistan, we won. So with this stance, now we have come to a conclusion that principles which we followed in the NAM can only earn praise but not the protection. So eventually we started doing some other things. If you see, this protection we will get from outside. Why? Because by the time, if you see the foreign impact on us, British impact on us, by the time they left our country, we are like completely dependent on other countries. We are not agriculturally sustained. We are deindustrialized nations. So, because of these two things, we are dependent on others. So with this, we also it eventually led to challenge of NAM. If you see, in 1955 and 65, that decade, we are heavily dependent on foreign countries, especially USA. Because if you see, this decade, 1955 to 65, nearly 11 to 12 millions of grains were imported by India per year. It's a huge amount, right? So we are completely dependent on for food, for agriculture, everything. So because of this dependency, this NAM is now challenged. Why? If you see, Vietnam War, which took place in 1960 by USA, because we are always supporting Vietnam, this eventually make US to get anger on us. But eventually, if they are not supporting, our agriculture imports will be in threat. So for this reason, we have to scale down on criticism of USA on Vietnam War. We have to not to support, at least scale down the criticism of the war. So this led to the threat for the NAM. So again, after 60s, when we are like this, at the end of 1960s, in 69-68 period, we started with a new reform in our agriculture, with a green revolution by great M.S. Swaminathan. With that, our agriculture within a decade, now it is prosperous and we soon became a good sufficiency in agriculture. In the same next 1970s, in the same decade, we have faced so many issues. If you see 1971, we have a peace deal, or we can see a most significant and important diplomatic move we have taken with the USSR. So what's that? We have packed a deal regarding the missiles, regarding the warfare with USSR. It's a treaty of friendship between US and USSR and India. So while we are doing that thing, in 1971, we faced a threat on our east side. So Pakistan has forced all the illegal migrants or the people who are from Indian origin living in Bangladesh and other religions people, they are facing threat because of Pakistan. So this forced us to involve there and forced us to liberate Bangladesh. So with the help of Russia, by importing warheads, missiles, everything, we are now very powerful country. Because of that, we liberated Bangladesh successfully. So, and if you see in the same period, 73 and 75, because of the Treaty of Friendship with USSR, now our imports raised. So, nearly doubled, 460 million in 1971, and this was suddenly surged, like increased to 830 million in 1973. So it has doubled. We doubled our imports, especially in the war, in defense sector, from Russia. So, and one more thing, there is one more important thing happened regarding space. We launched our first satellite with the help of Russia. So this also takes place in 1975. So this decade, we proved ourselves as a most powerful one. So with the US, China, they are warming up. In the same decade, if you see US, China, they are now warming up. In the same way, Russia also facing some threat with the Afghanistan. So this moment we took advantage, and now we became close to Russia. So with this Russia deal, we became powerful country in South Asia. And if you see the next one, coming to the 1980s, the decade. This decade, so being a most powerful nation in South Asia, now we have started a new thing. That is SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. This we can relate with the present day ASEAN. So we made a foundation for this SAARC, and we played a key role in this establishment. And we are so powerful in the starting decade, but at the end of that decade, in 1987, now there is a threat in the south. So we are forced to involve in the Sri Lankan civil war. So that's happening in the Sri Lanka civil war, which is involved by the Tamil settled over the northern side of Sri Lanka. It made us to involve because they are ethnically related to India or Tamil Nadu. So that's why it forced us to involve in the civil war of the Sri Lanka. So we have signed a treaty of peace with the Sri Lanka. So in 1987, actually we have signed a treaty or a deal with the Sri Lanka, saying that we will took lead and we'll maintain the peace in the territory. So because of that, it made us to deploy a force, IPKF. It's an Indian peacekeeping force. We deployed that in Sri Lanka in order to maintain the peace. But when time is bad, everything will be bad, right? But that peacekeeping force, it took so many steps, and eventually it led to the killing of lot of people over that area. Because of that, it forced us to the IPKF withdrawal. So this IPKF withdrawal, but in the whole 100 years or the whole decade or the whole century, we will call this deal as a diplomatic blunder, because from 47 till to 2025 it's more or less nearly 75, more than 75, and now we are leading to a 100 years of independence, right? Out of all this era, we call this as a diplomatic blunder. So with this, when we are in this situation, our then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi thought now this is the time for the re-establishment of NAM, non-alignment. So he thought to visit China and USA in order to establish a nice relations. So he went and visited China, and USA he went and visited in 1980-45. With that, a new chapter in the diplomacy has begun. So then coming to 1990s. As we know, if 1990s has come to our mind, the first thing would be LPG. So this economic reforms which has changed everything in India and whole the world. So in the same time, if you see, we have faced one more important loss, the disintegration of USSR. With that, we lost very good friend of us. So this eventually, in order to this should be successful, we should have more ties with the other nations. So we started searching for alternatives. So this led to the discovery of Asian tigers. Who are Asian tigers? By that time, if you see our South Asian countries like Singapore, Vietnam, everything they are going, and even Hong Kong, everything are growing. And even Taiwan, they are growing like hell. So we started discovering those countries called as Asian tigers. And with that, because disintegration of USSR, in the search of one more countries, we started discovering this Asian tigers, and with that we became dialogue partner of ASEAN. 10 countries, ASEAN, we became a dialogue partner. And in the same decade, we also did, it's rethinkable, it's unimaginable for any country in the world to do that. We have started embassy in Tel Aviv. So why it's a very important? Because Tel Aviv, we already know that it's a part of Israel. So always Israel and Palestine both will be fighting. But at that moment also, in the same situation is there, that moment also. But in that moment, when we are present, we are now started establishing embassy. It's a big move. So with that, now we became very close friends to Israel also. And while we are going, we have maintained very good relation with the US, Israel and South Asian countries. We have now did a big leap in our whole history. We tested nuclear bombs in Rajasthan. So nuclear test in Rajasthan, this made US to get angry on India. But eventually within 6 months, even Pakistan also started their nuclear tests. So now, because of that, you can see at the end of this decade, we are facing some issues with the US because of this nuclear test conducted by India at Rajasthan. And coming to the 2000 decade, it's a millennium, right? So we'll see this now in the millennium, we are with the lot of threat. Why? This side China, this side Pakistan, everywhere, all the countries, two of our nations surrounding India, now they are nuclear powers. So this is very critical stage for India. So to get out of this critical challenge, now we had only two goals in our mind. The first one would be reset the relations with USSR, and the other one would be a multilateral relations. So multilateral forms and the relations reset with the USA were the two goals which is in our mind by that time. So with that, we slowly started to get a friendship deals with the USSR. For that, the example is 2006, a nuclear deal with the USA. We are successful in that, and the same year, while we are successful, both the countries, now they are good friends, right? But the see, both USA and India, they together faced a threat, terrorist attacks in 9/12 and 26/11 and 9/11 in USA. So for both of them, the common enemy would be Pakistan. So because of that, now we thought there should be some other options. So with the help of Brazil, Russia, and again India, China, all come together, we have started BRIC. So their official meeting in New York and the official summit is 2009 in Brazil. So with that we can see now India can easily seize the whole countries. But the now question is, did we seize the movement? That's the question here. So in 2010, with the establishment of BRIC, so now this is a big question. And whether we captured this or not, this we can see here. So in this 2000 seize, we have did it so well. We have started partnership with 14 countries. And while doing that, we have faced one more issue. See, whenever we are facing issues, we are very good at finding solutions. In the same period, if you see in 2013, Jinping, he became the president to China. So he is very diplomatically unwell with India. So what he did? He started with a Doklam standoff. So border conflict between India and China. It happened for 70 days. So with the help of that, we are again down a little bit. But if you come to the 2020s, with all these things, now we are slowly becoming self-reliant in every aspect. If you see 2020s, now we are Vishwa Bandhu, meaning friend for everyone. In the same way, we are, see, that time when we are just trying to be a balancing position, but we are now balance itself. We maintain balance between the two countries as well. Why? That happened because we reduced foreign dependency. We are now with the policy of Make in India, we are producing for ourselves. And now if you see, we are making for the whole world also. And if you see, now with the help of other policies, like I said, Make in India, etc., before we were importing a lot. But now if you see, from 2000, since 2000 and 2025 now, we have donated 65 countries, which amounted rupees $48 billion. So this much we have donated to other countries around us. And we always like neighborhood first policy. If you see 1990s, because of the disintegration, we started Look East policy. Now we have changed and we have thought each and every neighborhood of India very important. So be it a Maldives, be it a Nepal, be it a Bhutan, Bangladesh, everyone. If any our neighborhood is in threat, we are the first to respond. And if you see, we thought by incorporating NAM, we are like alignment to certain, non-aligning certain, and sometimes we are aligning to US because of the dependency. But now if you see, now we are no more following the NAM, right? But instead of NAM, now we are following multilateral alignment. We are friendly with so many, but not too close with anyone. So now we can see India is following a very right diplomatic strategy, being in everyone room, but always be in a corner. That's what the diplomatic strategy followed by India now. So this made us to be a global leader. So now you can see our India talent is whole over the world. Being a CEO of Google, being a CEO of Microsoft, in NASA, in the space, everywhere we can see our Indians. So we started in 1947, the world, whole world looked us with a doubt. But now today, every country in the world is looking at us with a hope. So from doubt to hope, we have grown. So that's our foreign policy. So India is always great, and it will be great for every time, forever. So with that, we'll end this foreign policy in a brief. Hope you all have liked our session. So thanks for watching, but please share, like, comment our Vishnu IAS Academy channel. Thank you.